Alright, so I've just cut the timber here. I've used a drop saw to do it. As you can see, there's a really nice end grain there. And see how it's going direct, well, kind of on an angle, just upwards, instead of like sometimes you'll see grain that goes like a rainbow all the way down to the bottom. So curving, curving, curving. And what that curving can actually do is it can actually cup the timber, because the grain will expand and it will make the timber look more like that curve that the rainbow actually kind of has within it. But what will happen here is when the timber expands, it'll only go in and out, which, it can be a bad thing or a good thing. It really depends on what your purpose is for it. But now we're gonna look at cutting directly down to here, and then we're going to look at cutting on an angle to here. So when we cut directly down, this should become waste and just pop right off, and then we can look at cutting our angle down to here. Alright, so I'll set you up so that you get a good view of the saw. Alright, so this is our tenon saw, remember? And we're going to start by just scoring directly above that line as well. It will become waste in the end, so if it's on a bit of an angle, it's alright, but just scoring, dragging the blade back towards us, dragging the blade, then evening out, go straight through to the other side, and we want to make sure it's going straight. It's important. Go back and forth slightly to create a groove. If you can see that groove there that I've made, and I'm just going to follow that all the way down. I might quickly clamp my work. The only reason I had it loose was just so I could manipulate back and forth for the camera. But now that we've got it fixed, we'll get a clamp like this one and clamp it down to what our working surface is. Just stop it from wiggling. Just make sure you can still see what I'm doing. Yep. It's much easier when it's clamped down, because the saw is the only thing moving rather than the job. And potentially the work surface. It's not that sturdy. Alright, so we're getting pretty close. Just see how I'm going on the other side. Just evening it out a bit. A bit low on this side, but a bit higher on that side. So I'm just checking that as I go. Now I can probably straighten it out. And look at popping that out, just like that. See? Just popped out, and chop off the excess. Alright, so I'll show you what that looks like now. And you'll be able to see the cut I last did as well. Alright? So this is the original cut that was on an angle. And as you can see, it's actually pretty alright. I might need a little bit of sanding, and you can see all those grooves going horizontally. That's the saw blade butting up against it. But in this corner here, it's not quite perfect. You see this bit here, that means it just snapped off there and it didn't cut all the way through, but that's not a terrible thing. Might turn out to be a good thing. And then we're going to look at cutting on that angle there. Alright, so I'll set you back up. There we go. And we might need a saw again so that we can get down that angle, because otherwise this will just go straight down. So yeah, we'll look at doing that now. Just going to get that piece out of the way so it doesn't matter too much. It doesn't matter too much how we're doing this. We're just trying to get this piece out of the way so we can get a better angle on that piece. Alright? Might even go over a bit. Alright, that's all good. Just fix up that excess there. Alright, now we can look at cutting that angle. And it's actually quite good because it's created a bit of a guide here when it's cut on that angle. So we can continue to cut, making sure it's straight. I'm gonna clamp it down again. Just going to continue to cut on the angle. Now my saw's on a bit of an angle as I'm going through, just because I'm aware that it's a bit proud on this side, so the saw might want to wiggle so that it's cutting up like that on an angle, but we want it to be nice and straight. So if I cut on an angle like this, the only guide that I'll have is this side here. And following through as I get a bit closer. Speeding up a little as I get more grab on it. Making sure I'm continually checking where my line is and where my blade is. Readjusting my job so that I do have a clear line of sight. Just keeping an eye on that line so I don't touch it. I just am just shy of it is the purpose. And straightening out this blade so that it's a cut that goes all the way through. Alright. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Just give it a bit more on that side and then I think we're done. Alright, so that's a pretty good cut. I'll give you a bit of a close-up. As you can see, it's pretty thin. Not as thin as that one, that being directly downwards, remember? But it's a lot less wide than this one before. So that's pretty good. And it's a lot straighter as well on that inside edge. A little bit of movement on that outside edge. But yeah, that's what you want. And next thing we'll do is we'll be looking at cutting this whole section out. So that was just using the tenon saw, as we know, and we'll look at using maybe a few tools for this one, this cut here. So yeah.